The burrito has long held a specific position in the American economy. It is inherently cheap, filling, and universally accessible. But recently, sales of this basic staple plummeted to a 10-year low. The drop in sales comes down to basic math. The working-class consumers who normally buy these meals are feeling the intense pressure of inflation. To save 50 cents or $1 per meal, they are enduring the extra time and effort required to cook entirely at home. We see this cost-cutting across the board. Instead of flying, they take the bus. Instead of booking a standard hotel, they downgrade to the absolute cheapest roadside lodging available. When you look closely at these behaviors, a clear picture emerges. The everyday consumer has completely exhausted their disposable income, forcing them to ruthlessly slash the simplest, most mundane expenses in their daily lives. But in this exact same economic window, a completely opposite trend is happening. Super luxury hotels are fully booked. The most expensive restaurants in the country have never been more crowded. Look at the automotive sector. Dealerships are struggling to keep massive, six-figure pickup trucks in stock. Buyers are paying entirely in cash, and in some cases, paying black market premiums just to skip the waiting list. Meanwhile, affordable $30,000 and $40,000 commuter cars sit rotting by the thousands on dealership lots, causing manufacturers to halt production lines as overall sales drop by 1 million units. This graph models what economists call the K-shaped economy. It charts a dying middle class splitting into two distinct permanent pathways, one trajectory sharply rising toward extreme wealth and the other collapsing toward poverty. Focusing on the downward stroke, the data reveals a mathematical trap. Income cannot outpace inflation. A high-income earner buys a year's detergent up front for $6. A low-income earner buys month to month, paying $60 for the exact same volume. We see the same math on a $500,000 loan. A wealthy borrower clears the debt in a single year, paying only $50,000 in interest. Burdened by lower credit, that exact same loan costs an ordinary borrower $800,000. Across every dimension of life, being poor is mathematically more expensive. Caught on this downward trajectory, they cannot keep pace, eventually forced to sell off the few assets they own just to cover daily survival. The upper trajectory of the curve operates on a different set of rules. Above an income threshold of $200,000 a year, fixed costs vanish. They own their homes and cars outright, leaving massive surpluses. They funnel those surpluses into a wealth creation loop. Instead of spending personal capital, they leverage bank credit to buy additional properties, collecting rental income to cover the exact cost of the loan payments. This pie chart maps the global scale of this compounding wealth. The wealthiest 10% of the world's population now accounts for a massive 50% of all global purchases. This explains the paradox. The affordable markets are crashing because the masses are mathematically tapped out. The luxury markets are exploding because the wealthy are compounding their assets at a velocity that leaves inflation in the dust. We're watching a slow-moving economic flood approach. As stagflation sets in, treating wealth as optional is a fast track to being swept under. To build a 10-year buffer against this inflationary cycle, the math requires a monthly income of roughly $15,000. While a standard life in a major metropolis costs roughly $3,500 a month, hitting the $15,000 target provides the surplus needed for business expansion, a strategy designed to keep your growth ahead of the poverty line for the next decade. This new reality breaks traditional business models. If your strategy relies on high-volume, low-margin sales to the everyday consumer, the math shows you are targeting a demographic that no longer exists. Survival in this environment requires a hard pivot. You must offer high-margin, luxury products directly to the rapidly expanding class of the nouveau riche. These newly wealthy individuals acquired their capital within the last decade. Unlike old money families who quietly hide their assets behind generations of strict etiquette, the newly rich are completely unfamiliar with luxury traditions. They have an intense psychological need to constantly validate their new social standing. This status anxiety directly dictates how they spend their money. They gravitate toward highly visible, extravagantly expensive items. They buy gold-plated steaks, $1,000 bouquets, and flashy exotic cars, simply because the price tag demands attention. For a business owner, this demographic offers a strategic advantage. Because they lack established brand loyalties and constantly chase trends, they are incredibly cheap and easy to reach directly through social media. By supplying the status symbols this demographic craves, you build a business that remains resilient even as the broader economy stalls. The purchasing volume of the newly rich has historically increased during inflationary cycles, providing the most direct path to the $15,000 baseline.